This is the Vision Ears Erlkonig, a rhodium-plated silver 13 driver luxury IEM that comes in at $5,000. Now, I've never even touched a $5,000 in-ear monitor, let alone spent an entire week with one. So it's made out of premium materials, it's absolutely gorgeous, but how does it sound? We're going to find out right now, here on Audio In Reviews. Okay, so let's talk about the specifications, design, comfort, and isolation of the Vision Ears Erlkonig. This is Vision Ears' flagship IEM, and it comes in at $5,000 US. It's a 13 BA set, so each IEM has one super tweeter, 4 BAs for the highs, 4 BAs for the mids, and 4 for the lows. These have an impedance of 16 ohms and a sensitivity of 105 dBs. The shells are made out of rhodium-plated silver. So the shells themselves are silver, and then they have a plating of rhodium. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with rhodium, but of the precious metals that are out there, rhodium is the most precious and it's the most expensive because of its rarity. So this is made from a very, very high quality premium material. Now the cable is also very, very nice. I love the braiding. I love the black with the rhodium plating coloring combination here, and I know they have other design options. I think they have a rose gold, and then there's a black, a darker version, and I think those actually cost even more than these, a little bit more. So you have different design options in different, again, premium materials, precious metals, and I think even different cable options as well. This particular cable here is very nice, has a very nice braid, it's very soft. I love the gunmetal kind of metal coloring, and it has the Erlkonig logo on the 3.5 millimeter jack here, and it has the logo on this gold splitter here as well. This is a 2-pin cable. Also has the gunmetal coloring on the 2-pin plug. So now, as far as design, I love the design of this. I love how they hid the dial underneath the plate. Of course, we've seen other IEMs that have the switches on the back. They are, obviously you can see them. I love that they hid the dial underneath the plate, because once the plate's on, you have no clue that there's any kind of dial or anything on these IEMs. So I love how they hid the dial under this magnetic plate here, and they have the magnet. You can see the magnet right here, and the dial right here. And of course, it comes with this tool so you can make your adjustments. And each of these settings, and I'll go over this, of course, in the review and talk about the different sound signatures, but you have 4 different tuning options that are available to you. And 2, as you can see here, I hope you can see, is the default setting. That's what it's on currently right now. So, and again, we'll go over that in the review. So as far as comfort, each of these shells weigh approximately 20 grams, which is quite heavy. The heaviest IEM that I had ever reviewed up until these was the MMR Thummim. And that was quite a heavy shell, and I remembered that I had slight issues with comfort because of the weight of the shell. It was causing the nozzle to put pressure on the inside, the upper inside of my ear canal when I would listen to it for a long time. So I was thinking I might have issues with these as well because of their weight. Fortunately, I had no discomfort at all, and I don't know how they did that. The tips are nice that they give with you in the set, so I'm sure that does definitely play a role. The tips are very, very comfortable on these, but it must be the length of the nozzle. Somehow the way they designed this, even though these are very, very heavy, I had no discomfort at all during long listening sessions. Now, as far as isolation, the isolation of these, and I imagine it probably has to do with the types of materials that they use, the silver, the rhodium plating, is excellent. I could not hear anything. Once I got these in, got a good seal with the tips, it blocked out everything. So overall, again, you've got the very premium materials, excellent comfort, excellent design, premium build, overall a very, very nice presentation, and just again, overall high quality product that you have here by Visioneers. Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on to the sound. Okay, so before we get into the details of the sound of the Erlkonig, I quickly want to talk about the dial and the 4 different positions that you have and the 4 different tuning selections that you have with the dial. Position 1 is it's a very bass heavy tuning, so it's more of the fun tuning. So if you want something that has a lot of slam, a lot of sub bass and bass, that's position 1. Position 2 has a little less bass. It's more of it's a friendlier tuning, a little easier on the bass, and it's actually my favorite of the 2. It's still warm, so it still has plenty of bass, a little extra mid bass and lower mid. So again, it has that warm kind of sound signature. And as you get further into when you get into 3, the bass goes down a little bit more, and then 4, 3 and 4, actually the bass frequencies are almost identical. So when you get into the mids, position 4 has the most lower mids, the highest level of lower mids, and then position 2, a little less, more of a warm kind of sound signature in the lower mids, and again, position 3 and 4 are almost identical, a little less lower mids than position 1 and 2. So the mids and upper mids are identical in almost all the settings, and it's not until you get into the lower treble where you start to see a deviation between the different settings. Now, in position 2 or 3, the treble is a little bit more elevated, about 2 to 6 dBs more elevated than it is in positions 1 and 4. Now, both of them follow almost identical patterns again, but 2 and 3 are about 2 to 6 dBs louder or higher than positions 1 and 4. So again, but position 2 was my favorite because that was the one I think that kind of struck that good warm sound signature that I like. And again, that is the default position. So, okay, so now let's go ahead and dive into the details of the sound of the Erlkonig. Okay, so let's talk about the treble of the Erlkonig. I quickly want to talk about the graph, then we'll go into the details. If you look at the graph, what you're going to see in the higher frequencies is a little peak at about 17,000 hertz, then it jumps way up. You have a peak at 11,000 hertz, then it comes down, a little bit of a dip, and then another peak at 6,000 hertz. Then it starts to go up from there, and then it has, at its highest point in the treble, it's right at 3.5K. Then it comes down, and then another peak at around 2.5K. Now, I've talked about the things that I look for when I'm evaluating treble. I look for soundstage width, detail retrieval, cymbal accuracy, air in live recordings, and just overall clarity, sizzle in hi-hats. The Erlkonig has all of that in spades. Detail retrieval was incredible. The soundstage was wide. Air was very present in live recordings. Soundstage and overall just dimensionality, the spaciousness of live recordings is excellent. And again, you even have that excellent sizzle in hi-hats. Again, cymbals, depending on how hard a cymbal is struck and how thick the cymbal is, there's so many different sounds and different types of frequencies and layerings that go on with cymbals, and also even in toms and snares. This thing again was able to pull out so many details and really just represented cymbals very, very well. And also you have in some of the lower treble, you have attack on the snare, you have that stick attack on the tom, on the skins, and this thing just pulled all of that out. The detail and clarity on this is very, very good. Okay, so let's go ahead and move into the mids. Okay, so moving from the lower treble into the upper mids, again, we talked about that peak at 3.5 and at 2.5. Past the 2.5K, as you move further into the mids, you start to see a decline in that curve. And at the lowest point in the mids, it bottoms out right at around 900 hertz. So with that peak at 3.5 and 2.5K, what that does is that gives you a little bit more of an intimate presentation with vocals, guitars, and pianos. Now, and again, I've talked about the things I look for in mids. I listen for instrument timbre. How accurate is the timbre, or is there any BA, because this is a 13 BA IEM setup, and of course sometimes you have timbre issues with BA drivers. Timbre on these are incredible. I didn't notice any timbre issues at all. Instruments sounded natural, voices sounded natural. Male vocals, I was listening to the song Missing You by Hans Thiesink. His voice is very, very thick and just has a ton of texture to it. And this pulled out all of that texture. And again, you had those warmer lower mids that again just really added that fullness to his voice. Also in like some of the lower notes of cellos and saxophones just sounded really, really good. And the overall clarity and detail retrieval of the mids is just absolutely incredible. The transition from the upper treble, lower treble into the upper mids was just super, super smooth. Like the treble, this is probably some of the best mids I've heard also. Okay, let's go ahead and move into the bass of the Erlkonig. Okay, so because of the limited amount of time I was able to spend with the Erlkonig, I wasn't really able to evaluate the treble, mids, and bass in all four of the different dial positions as much as I would have liked to. But I did spend some time with the bass, evaluating the bass in the different positions, focusing primarily on the differences between position 1 and position 2. Again, just to kind of remind you, position 1 has the most bass elevation. Position 2 is a little bit less. Position 3 and 4 have the least amount of bass presence, and 3 and 4 are almost identical. If you look at the curve, they lay almost right on top of each other. And those, again, 3 and 4 have the least amount of bass presence. Now, one of the things I wanted to look for in the position 1, because when I saw the graph, it looked like there was a little bit of bass bleed maybe into the lower mids. And when I listened back, I did notice on some tracks that the lower mids, there was some bass bleed into the lower mids, and it did muddle up the clarity and detail just a tad. But it did not take away from the overall fun experience, listening experience in position 1. So I had a lot of fun listening to certain tracks, especially in electronic, with the IEMs in position 1. But okay, so going back to position 2, because that was where I did most of my evaluation. Again, things I look for are texture, layering, the speed of the bass, and also extension. And overall, the making sure that none of the bass frequencies are kind of overpowering each other. So the extension was very, very good. Again, the way that curve, that bass curve is, you have the highest point at around 90 hertz. The way they work that curve out, the bass is just so smooth. You have excellent texture, excellent layering, and the speed of those BA drivers is just really, really impressive. And again, you have excellent extension all the way down to 20 hertz, and the way they work that curve out is just, the bass is just superb. So just kind of going back to the whole thing, everything about this IEM is amazing. And again, at the beginning of the video, I asked the question, we talked about how it's made from premium materials. It has excellent build quality. And even though these are about 20 grams each, they're quite heavy, the overall comfort is still pretty amazing. I had no issues even with the weight of these as far as comfort. But I asked the question, but really the most important thing is, how is the sound? And the sound is amazing. Again, this is overall probably one of the best in-ear monitors I've ever heard in my life. So I was, this has been quite an amazing 7 days that I've had with these, and I'm glad I was able to get that new Plenu 2 MK2, because that's I really, pairing this with that, and also the IDSD signature, man, I tell you, those are great pairings with these. So I have to thank Bara with Audio Tiers, and also thank Visioneers for allowing us to participate and be able to experience something. Again, I would never be able to listen to something like this. So thank you, Bara. Thank you, Visioneers, for organizing this tour. I'm so glad I've been able to participate. So as far as my viewers and subscribers, if you are a new viewer, please subscribe to my subscribers. Thank you. Please like this video. Please share this video. Again, thank you so much. I hope you guys have an awesome day.